Logan sat alone in the control room of the old repair station floating above a dead moon. The station was cold, quiet, and full of creaking metal sounds for the past 3 months. He had been the only human there. He liked the silence or so. He thought until strange things began to happen. Tools started going missing from their boxes. Power flickered at night, even though the systems were stable. He blamed space rats at first, or maybe old wiring. But then he saw the scratches, long, thin claw marks on the wall near his bed. Logan locked his room every night after that. He carried a wrench with him everywhere. He didn't sleep well. Fun waking up from bad dreams he couldn't remember. Then one night, he woke up to a nightmare that was real. Someone in his room, tall, silent, and deadly. An alien woman stood at the foot of his bed. Her skin was a soft bluish tone. Her hair black and braided tightly back. Her eyes glowed. Faintly in the dark, in her right hand, she held a curved blade made of dark crystal. She moved with slow, perfect grace, like a dancer trained to kill. Logan froze, his breath shallow, his body stiff with fear. He had heard stories of assassins, silent killers from far alien empires. Never thought one would find him, but there she was, standing inches from his life. She raised the blade and pressed it gently against his neck. He didn't scream, didn't move, just stared into her glowing eyes. For a long second, they said nothing. Then her gaze shifted to the wall beside him. There was an old paper drawing. Taped there, a child's drawing with messy colors and happy faces. It showed Logan standing with a small alien girl. Both smiling, the words below said, "Thank you for saving me." It was from Nira. A refugee girl Logan had rescued 2 years ago during a space conflict. She had lost her parents. And Logan had risked everything to smuggle her to safety. Assassin stared at the picture for a long time. Her hand trembled slightly. The cold focus in her eyes softened. She slowly lowered the blade. Logan blinked in surprise but stayed still. The assassin took a step back, then another. She slipped into the shadows of the room without a sound. Logan remained frozen for several minutes, afraid to even breathe. When he finally moved, she was gone. No sound, no trace. Nothing left but the cold metal and his racing heart. The next morning, Logan checked the station logs. No entries showed a breach. The cameras had gone dark for exactly 7 minutes, cut cleanly. Then restored, he now knew this was no accident. Someone or something was here, and it wasn't done yet that night. He slept with one eye open under his pillow. He hid a small stun device just in case, but nothing happened. Not the next night either, instead. He found his tools neatly placed beside his door in the morning. Tools that had gone missing days ago. He found food, 2 dried alien fruit he had never seen before, carefully wrapped in clean cloth, placed like a peace offering. Logan didn't know what to make of it. She had come to kill him, but something in that moment had stopped her. That drawing, maybe, or the memory it carried. Who was she, and why did she leave him alive? He spoke into his log that night, voice soft. "There's someone here," he said. "She's not just an assassin." She hesitated, in the shadows above, in the vents where the warm air flowed. The alien woman watched through a small grate. Her name was Zira, and she had killed many before. But this human was different. Something about the kindness in that. Picture the innocence of the child. It reminded her of someone she had lost long ago. Her own daughter, taken in the fires of war. Zira closed her eyes, trying to shake the memory. But it stayed. Strong and painful, she whispered to herself. They said humans were cruel, but this one saved a child. She tightened her grip on the vents and silently moved on. Her mission was clear, but her heart was no longer cold, and for the first time in years, she felt unsure. The assassin had arrived. Well, she was no longer. Certain of her purpose, Zira sat in the shadows of the old cargo bay. Her blade resting beside her, she had failed, and she didn't know why. She was trained to kill without question, without pause. But last night, something had stopped her. Not the human strength, he had none. Not fear, she didn't feel it anymore. It was the picture on the wall. That child, smiling with the human, had shattered her focus. The girl's eyes reminded her of her own daughter, years ago, before the war. Before her world was burned, before she had become an assassin, her daughter had drawn pictures just like that, bright, messy colors, full of hope. Then came the soldiers, Then came the fire. Zira never found her daughter's body, only the silence that followed. Now in this silent station, that memory had returned, she watched the human Logan. From the shadows again, he didn't know where she was, but she knew everything about him. She had studied his files, his voice logs, his daily routines. She had prepared to kill him perfectly, but now she watched him fix wires, eat simple food, and talk to himself softly. He didn't act like a monster. That morning, he sat in the command chair, sipping weak coffee. "I know you're here," he said, speaking to the air. "I don't know why you didn't kill me, but thank you." He smiled a little, even though he looked tired. Then he placed something on the table, a small cup of warm water and a sweet protein bar. He left it there and walked away, not looking back. Zira stared at the items for a long time. Why would he offer food to someone sent to kill him? Why show kindness to his shadow? She climbed down silently and picked up the bar. The wrapper was hand-marked with a message, "No tricks. Just peace." She ate slowly, unsure if the taste in her mouth was the food or guilt. That night, Logan made sure his room was unlocked. He placed a blanket on the floor near the heater. And again, he said to the empty room, "You can stay there. If you want, I won't stop you." Zira didn't enter the room, but she stayed near the door, from the hallway. She listened to his breathing until he fell asleep. She didn't understand him. Humans had burned her life to ash. And yet this one offered warmth. She thought of leaving, of calling her handler, and finishing the mission, but the thought of that child's drawing froze her again. The next day, Logan opened a file on the command screen. He spoke into his log recorder. "She had the chance to kill me. She didn't. I've decided not to fight. If she comes again, if I die, I die. But I don't think she wants to anymore." Zira watched the recording from the shadows hours later. She replayed his words again and again. Her hands clenched into fists. Assassins don't hesitate. Assassins don't get confused. But she wasn't sure who she was anymore. Later that evening, she returned to the table where he had left the food. This time, she left something of her own, a dried fruit pouch from her planet, wrapped in soft cloth, placed where he would find it. It wasn't much, but it was her way of saying, "I see you." When Logan found the pouch the next morning, he smiled and said nothing. He simply placed it on the shelf, like it was treasure. Then he turned on soft music and sat back in his chair. Zira stayed nearby, listening from behind a wall. She didn't know the song, but something about the melody made her chest ache. Slow sadness filled her eyes, but she didn't cry. Assassins don't cry. Still, the part of her that once had a daughter, once knew love, whispered gently again. Zira turned off her blade that night. She placed it beside her while she slept in the cold corner of the hallway. She hadn't spoken a word yet, but in her silence, something was already changing. She was no longer here for a mission. She was here because she couldn't walk away. Not yet. Not until she understood why this human's kindness felt like the first light she'd seen in years. Logan stopped locking his door at night. He wasn't sure why. Maybe it was trust. Or maybe it was something deeper. Something he couldn't explain. The assassin had not returned to kill him. Instead, she left fruit, fixed broken wires, and moved through the halls like a ghost. He never saw her face again, but he felt her presence everywhere. It was like living with a shadow that no longer wanted to harm him. One morning, he woke up to find the station's lights brighter. Air filters that had been half broken were working again. He opened a maintenance panel and found a sharp alien tool neatly tucked inside. Wires were repaired, cleaner than his own work, Logan whispered. "You've got steady hands," and smiled at nothing in particular that day. He left something new for her, a small recording device. He placed it on the table with a simple message. "You don't have to stay hidden." He pressed record and spoke gently. "I know you're listening. I'm not asking you to talk, but maybe. Just hear me out." Zira found the device later, her hand shaking slightly as she picked it up. She pressed play and sat silently in the vent above his room. Logan's voice was soft and calm. He talked about Earth, about blue skies and warm rain. He talked about a cat he once had, named Mango, who always slept on his chest. He talked about how lonely it was out here fixing broken metal with no one to talk to. Zero listened for hours the next day. She left the recorder back on the table, unharmed. Logan took that as a yes. A silent conversation had begun. He started leaving one recording every night. Each message was simple, filled with memories or questions. "Do you have family?" he asked once. "What's your home like?" Zero never replied, but the recordings were always returned carefully. One time, she left a small sketch next to it, a moon with twin suns drawn in green ink. Logan stared at the sketch for a long time. "Is this your planet?" he asked in the next message. No answer came. But he found alien writing beside the next morning's fruit. He scanned the symbols and found they translated to one word: warm, from. That moment, the silence between them became something else. It wasn't empty anymore. It was filled with messages. It's unspoken kindness and a strange peace. Logan began to talk to her like she was a friend, not a ghost. He even joked once, "You fix wires better than me want a job." Somehow, the lights flickered right after, like a silent laugh one evening. He left something personal. A locket inside was a tiny picture of him and Nira, the alien child he once saved, he said. "She was scared when I found her, cold, starving, but she trusted me. Maybe that's why I trust you." He placed the locket gently on the table and walked away. Zira stood over the locket later that night. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. She stared at the child's face and felt something break. Inside her, a memory came rushing back, her own daughter's face. Small and round, with the same wide eyes, her legs gave out, and she sat on the cold floor, shaking. She didn't leave anything for Logan that night. She simply stayed close. Curled up near the hallway heater, she didn't sleep. She just watched the lights flicker across the walls. She wasn't just questioning her mission anymore. She was questioning everything she had become. Meanwhile, Logan looked at the camera logs he had secretly restored. He paused the video where a faint figure crouched in the dark hall. She looked fragile, like she was made of glass and regret. He whispered to himself, "You're not an assassin anymore, are you?" That night, he didn't leave a recording. He left a single sentence written on paper. "You're safe here." Zira found it, read it slowly, and touched the words with her fingers. Her eyes filled with something she hadn't felt in years. Not pain, not anger, but the soft ache of being seen, of not being hunted or used, of being treated like someone who mattered. She placed the note inside her armor, close to her chest. For the first time in a decade, she slept peacefully. Even though she still didn't speak, the silent conversation had said more than words ever could. The cold silence of the station was broken by a sound that did not belong. It was faint, a low beep, coming from the deepest corner of the old cargo hold. Zira's eyes snapped open. That sound was a signal only she could hear. It meant one thing. Backup had arrived. She hadn't called for it. She hadn't completed the mission, and now the system believed she had failed. Failed to kill the target, failed to report in, and so they had sent someone else to finish the job. Zira stood slowly, her mind spinning. She should have expected this. Assassins were tools, not people. They were replaceable, silent, and forgotten. And when one stopped obeying, another was sent to erase them. That night, Logan sat by the window, eating quietly. He didn't know death was flying toward him. He looked up at the stars and smiled. "I think she's still here," he said softly, recording another log. "Don't know her name, but I feel safer when she's around," he laughed gently. "Strange, huh? Feeling safe with someone who was sent to kill you?" Zira watched him through the vents. Every word made her chest tighten. He still didn't know the danger he was in. Not from her, but from the one now approaching. She moved fast that night, checking the station's perimeter, and there, on the outer radar, she saw it, a small stealth pod docking on the dark side. No lights, no signal, no greetings, only silence and shadow. She knew who it was. His name was Kale. He had trained with her long ago. Never spoke, never missed, never asked questions. He didn't hesitate like she had, and he wouldn't stop, not even for her. Zira returned to the station interior and Found Logan asleep in his chair. She hesitated, then stepped into the room fully for the first time. Her boots made a soft sound on the metal floor. Logan stirred, half awake, when he opened his eyes. He saw her standing there tall, armored, glowing faintly, his mouth open to speak, but she raised her hand.
Ow.
"Don't talk," she whispered. Her voice was rough, unused for too long. "There's no time." She handed him a small blast, inloaded, broken, but it was a gesture of trust. Then, she said 4 words that made his blood run cold. "Another is coming fast." Logan stood up slowly, his face pale. "You mean like you?" he asked. Zero shook her head. "No," she said. He won't hesitate. In that moment, Logan saw her clearly not as an assassin, but as someone who was trying to save him, and maybe save herself too. They ran together through the dark corridors of the station. Zira disabled old turrets and sensors, creating a trap. She didn't want to kill Kale, but she had to delay him.
Ow.
Logan watched her move like lightning sharp, silent. And full of pain, she wasn't just trying to survive, she was fighting for a choice. Suddenly the lights flickered, then a crash. The second assassin had entered. Kale stepped into the hallway, taller than Zira. Wearing red armor that shimmered like blood, he carried twin blades and moved with terrifying speed. Zero stepped in front of Logan without hesitation. She drew her blade. "Go," she whispered. But Logan didn't run. Kale attacked without warning. Steel clashed, sparks flew, and the corridor lit up with the sounds of war. Zero blocked his strikes, parried, moved like she was dancing in fire, but Kale was relentless. He slashed across her arm and she staggered. Logan shouted and threw a toolbox at Kale. Buying her 1 second, it was enough. Zero flipped back. Pressing a button behind her, the floor panels lit up her trap. Kale stepped forward too late. To see an explosion of light shot through the air. Stunning him, he fell to the ground, momentarily disabled. Zira collapsed beside him. Blood leaking from her shoulder, Logan rushed to her, holding her carefully. "You saved me," he said. Voice shaking, she looked at him, her lips trembling. "I was sent to kill you," she whispered. "But I saw your kindness, and I couldn't." Logan helped her up and pulled her into the medical bay. They had only minutes before Kale recovered. "You need to run," Zira said weakly. "I'm not leaving you," Logan replied. For the first time, her eyes softened completely. She reached into her armor and handed him a chip. "This has the override code," she said. "For what?" "For everything," she answered, "even Kale." And in that fragile moment between breath and silence, 2 enemies became allies. And a mission of death became a mission of redemption. Logan slammed the medical bay door shut as red lights flashed around him. He activated the emergency lock, sealing the entrance with thick metal bars. Outside, they could hear Kale rising. His breathing deep and cold. Time was running out. Zira lay on the floor, her shoulder bleeding, face pale. She looked like she was fading, but her eyes stayed sharp. "We don't have long," she whispered. Logan pressed a cloth to her wound. "You saved me," he said. "Now I'll save you." Zira reached for the chip she gave him earlier. "It's not just a code," she said slowly. "It's a virus, one that shuts down assassin protocols. If we upload it to the station core, Kale will freeze." Logan stared at her. "Unsure if it would work?" "He's not like you," Logan said. Zira nodded. "He's worse," she replied. "No memories, no heart left. Just programming." Logan stood up and opened a hidden compartment near the back of the room. Inside was a dusty escape pod, small, old but working. He wiped off the controls and sighed. "1 seat," he muttered. Zero pushed herself to sit. "Up, you'll take it," she said firmly. He looked at her and shook his head. "No," he said. "We go together or not at all." He grabbed a toolkit and began rewiring the pod. Zira stared at him in silence, her heart caught between fear and something she hadn't felt in years, hope. Minutes passed, like seconds. Outside the door, heavy footsteps echoed. Kale was hunting again. Zira pulled herself to the console and began typing fast. She accessed the station's mainframe and uploaded the virus. Logan helped her, his hands Shaking, they worked side by side, a human and an assassin rewriting fate. Suddenly, the power surged, sparks flew, and the lights went out for a full 3 seconds. Then a soft chime rang through the station. Protocol override in progress. Zira collapsed backward, exhausted. "It's working," she whispered. Logan caught her before she hit the floor, but before he could smile, emergency alarm roared. Kale had broken through the first door. One more barrier stood between them and death. Logan grabbed a plasma torch and cut into the escape pod panel. "I'm making space for 2, he said. Zira reached out to stop him. "There's no time," she said. "I'll stay." He looked at her, eyes fierce. No, you won't," he said. "I didn't come this far to watch you die." With one final push, the override finished. Across the station, systems crashed. Kale froze mid-step, his eyes glitching, his blades falling from his hands. The virus worked, but only for a moment. Zira looked at Logan, her voice shaking. "He'll reboot." "We have 60 seconds. They stumbled toward the pod, Logan dragging her gently. He shoved the modified controls, and the doors slid open. Inside, it was cramped, barely enough space to breathe, but it was life. Logan helped Zira inside first. He climbed in beside her, sealing the hatch through the small window. He saw Kale charging one last time, his face twisted, robotic rage breaking through. Then boom, the escape pod launched, bursting from the station into the blackness of space. The station behind them exploded in slow. Bright pieces, no sound, just fire and light inside the pod. Zira leaned against Logan, her eyes fluttered, her breath weak. But she was alive, and so was he. Logan looked out at the stars, his voice calm, tired, but full of something new. "You were sent to kill me," he said. Zira looked at him, her lips curling into a weak smile. "I failed," she whispered. "Good," he replied, holding her hand gently. For a long time, they sat in silence, no words, just shared breath, too broken. People who had stopped being weapons, now they were something else. Survivors. Together, in the distance, a small moon came into view. A neutral planet where war didn't reach. Logan smiled. "We'll land there," he said. Zira closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his voice wrap around her for the first time in years. She felt like she was going home. The escape pod landed softly on the quiet moon. Dust rose like a fog as the engines cooled. Above them, stars blinked in a sea of black. No alarms, no red lights, no more shadows in the vents. Logan stepped out first. Helping Zira walk slowly, her wound was healing, but her body still trembled. The moon was peaceful, just pale rock, warm air, the sound of soft wind they found. A small abandoned outpost nearby, likely left behind by miners long ago. It had power, shelter, and silence. For 2 days, they said little. They rested, shared food, and repaired the communication systems. Zira sat by the window most nights, staring at the stars like they held old answers. Logan didn't press her with questions. He just sat nearby, sometimes talking, sometimes just existing beside her on the third night. Zira finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried years of pain. "I had a daughter once," she said. Logan looked up gently, waiting. She was small, always drawing pictures, asking questions. She liked warm water and hated silence. Zira smiled weakly, then it faded. "When the war came, we lived on the edge of a neutral colony. But neutrality doesn't stop bombs." She took a breath. "One night, soldiers came, looking for rebels. They didn't care who was innocent. They burned everything." Logan listened quietly. Zira's hands tightened into fists. "I told her to hide under the bed. I fought them off the best I could, but when I came back, the house was gone." She closed her eyes. There was nothing left, just smoke and broken walls. She opened her palm, revealing a small pendant. This was hers. A tiny charm shaped like a moon, still warm from being held so long. Logan's throat tightened. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I joined the assassins because I had no one left," she continued. "They told me humans were monsters. They showed me footage, Images, lies, and truths mixed together, and I believed it. But then, she whispered, I saw your face. You were sleeping, so still. Behind you was that picture of the little girl. For a second, I saw her, my daughter. Her voice cracked. I couldn't kill you. Logan reached over and gently placed his hand over hers. You didn't fail, he said. You found yourself again. Zero didn't pull away. Tears gathered in the corners of her eyes, but didn't fall. She wasn't ready to cry. Not yet. They sat together under the stars in silence, a warm silence, not an empty one. And for the first time, Zira spoke her full name. Zira Talvin. Logan. Nodded. I'm Logan Marek, he replied, smiling. Engineer, cook, bad singer, occasional idiot. She laughed softly, just once, a sound like something healing that night. Logan brought out a data tablet filled with messages. They were from the children he had helped during the war, refugees, orphans, scared young lives he had smuggled out one by one. Each message was short but full of love. One said, Thank you for not treating me like a monster. Another read, I hope to be kind like you someday. Zero read each message with shaking hands. Then she looked up and said something Logan didn't expect. I want to help, not fight, she added. But protect. He nodded slowly. There's a colony not far from here, he said. Neutral zone. Peaceful. They take in people like us, wounded, he added, but willing to heal. Zira leaned back and stared at the stars again. I never thought I'd see a future, she whispered, but now, maybe I do. The outpost lights flickered gently around them, outside. The sky turned a soft purple with the rising of twin moons. Logan placed a blanket around her shoulders. She didn't resist for the first time. She looked at him, not with caution, but with trust, and something else, the first light of peace. The transport shuttle glided across the sky, below it. Green fields and silver buildings of the neutral colony sparkled in the morning light. Zira sat quietly beside Logan, her body healing but her heart still heavy. She had changed. But she didn't know if the world would let her. Logan noticed her silence. He placed his hand gently on hers. Everything's going to be okay, he whispered. She gave a soft nod. But her eyes didn't leave the window as the shuttle landed. They saw a line of guards at the colony gate, tall figures in dark armor, not aiming weapons, but watching closely. Refugees were welcome here, but killers were not. And Zira knew that, in the eyes of many, she was still both. They stepped off the shuttle slowly. Logan carried his repair bag. Zira carried nothing but her past. A tall woman in silver robes walked forward, her eyes calm and kind. State your names, she said softly. Logan Merrick, he replied. Civilian engineer, survivor of station collapse. He looked at Zira, who took a breath. Zira Talvin, she said, her voice steady. Former operative of the Assassin Corps. I no longer serve them. A murmur rippled through the guards. One stepped forward, hand near his sidearm. Logan stepped in front of her. She saved my life, he said firmly. She destroyed the one who came to finish me off. The silver-robed woman studied Zira for a long time. Her gaze wasn't angry, was curious. Why did you change? She asked. Zira looked at the sky for a moment, then back at the woman. I saw a child's drawing. She said, it reminded me I once had a daughter, and I realized I didn't want to be death anymore. The woman didn't smile, but her voice softened. We don't punish those who choose peace, she said, but peace is earned. She turned to the guards and gave a nod. They stepped aside. You will stay for 1 season, she said. Live among us, help where you can, and prove your heart. Zira lowered her head in quiet gratitude. Logan squeezed her hand gently. They walked through the gates together, 2 strangers turned allies, now something more. The colony was beautiful. Children ran through gardens, aliens of all species. Worked side by side, there were no weapons in sight, only tools. It felt like another universe, one far away from war. Logan was given a role in the maintenance crew, fixing air systems, building solar roofs, teaching young ones how to weld. Zira was slower to find her place. She spent days watching, listening, learning. At first people stared, some whispered. But no one harmed her. One morning, a young boy asked her to help carry water. She did. And the next day, another child invited her to sit near the fire. Bit by bit, the walls began to fall. One evening, she taught a small group how to disarm traps without using tech. They listened with wide eyes, not afraid, but amazed. Later that night, she sat beside Logan near the edge of the field. The stars were brighter here. Logan handed her something wrapped in cloth. She opened it and gasped softly. It was the same child's drawing, the one from the station, now framed in carved wood. Zira held it to her chest. I thought it burned. She whispered, I made a copy. Logan smiled. I knew it mattered. She leaned her head on his shoulder. For the first time, no ghosts whispered in her mind, no voices from her past, only the quiet hum of peace. The next day, the colony council gave her a symbol, a small pin shaped like a rising sun. It meant protector, not assassin. She wore it proudly. Logan and Zira stayed in the colony. Seasons passed and wounds faded. They built a home, helped others, and healed in ways neither thought possible when someone new arrived at. The colony gets a lost soldier, a fearful refugee, a child without a home. It was Zira who stepped forward, not with a blade, but with open hands. She had been sent to kill, but she chose to love, and in doing so, she found something no assassin is trained to expect: a future.